Throughout the years, the Fallout games were released by two different teams with absolutely different core philosophies. We saw brilliant New Vegas that allows you to roleplay a variety of different personas, and Fallout 4 that turns the game into a looter shooter with occasional dialogues. Nonetheless, there is a lot of discussion between fans of old-school Fallout games and people that join the fanbase from Fallout 3. Suit up in power suits, and I present you 5 reasons why people don't like Fallout 3.
Spare change. Spare change, ma'am.
Your money or your life.
People that got into the test with Oblivion love Bethesda's world-building philosophy. They love the ability to go in any direction without meeting strong enemies. People don't ask how this imaginary world functions and why Oblivion has more bandits than ordinary citizens. How do all these people have their food and other commodities? This kind of player just wants to roam around the game world being a thief, warrior, mage or something in between. They feel awesome while playing as the chosen one and saving Tamriel from the evil god. Overall, this type of players need interesting dungeons and quests that force them to do some fun dungeon crawling. They just want to have fun after working for the whole week. Alternatively, some players want to have a comprehensive world. It is essential for us to understand what is a food source for local settlements. We need to have a somewhat complex dialogue system. I want to have the ability to roleplay as a bad person that does bad things. We're not happy just with a virtual ability to have different gameplay. Besides, Fallout 3 suffers from a boring quest design. All quests are just blank and boring. There is no situation like with Rapcon launch site in Fallout New Vegas. Initially you go there because the locals asked you to make it safe for prospectors. In Fallout 3 you would just need to clear out the whole building from generic zombie enemies. Alternatively, in Fallout New Vegas you discover that there are a group of sentient ghouls that barricaded on the upper floor because the Nightkin super mutants attacked the site. Sentient ghouls call themselves Bright Followers. Their main goal is to leave the scarred earth behind and fly to the far beyond. The feral ghouls have occupied the Rapcon site because the super mutants freed them from their cages, where Bright Followers hold them in the hope that they could return their sentience in the far beyond. The Bright Followers ask for your help in liberating the site from muties and completing their preparations for the great journey. I will not go into the more details about this mission because we don't have the time, but it has several alternative endings. Fallout New Vegas is filled with quests that sound like boring and generic, but have a lot more to offer than you could expect. Sadly, Fallout 3 doesn't have such a quest structure. With Fallout 4, 3 and 76, we can see that Bethesda uses the same philosophy while designing the world after the nuclear apocalypse, like during creation of the Elder Scrolls projects. Sadly, Bethesda will use the same organization and enemies. They just don't let the games to become bigger and include new content.
I wasn't always like this. I was a goddamn scientist.
RPG games use the main story as the reason why the main character should leave their home and come on the adventure, while in books and movies the plotline is more linear. The first act in the movie shows the same world of our main character. We understand how he lives, his character, dreams, and why he wants to live. After that he has his call to adventure. Initially he refuses, but comes to his senses and joins up. It works for books and movies because reader doesn't have any freedom. On the other hand, RPGs are trying to give you as much creative freedom as possible. The goal of the main goal is to motivate you to move from one place to another. The character meets different people and political situations, where the players can choose what they believe to be more correct. Quests provide several endings in a such way that you can showcase your personal beliefs, while progressing the main quest line. Fallout 3 gives you a concrete backstory. Your character is not an empty vessel that you can fill up as you would like. He or she has a dead childhood friend Amanda, and Butch was bullying you all your childhood. While you were 18, your father decides to get out of the vault. The overseer goes bananas and orders the guards to arrest you. So they decide to attack you. In this situation, your father feels more like the main character or the phenomenon that forces you to get out of the safe vault. I will not continue about that because Boomer Guy spent a good amount of time explaining it. Go watch his video. Let's take a meeting with Great Hans and Edison Lee from Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas as an example. These two groups should tell you how to find the person that you seek. You meet Miss Lee on the deck of Rivet City and she just tells you about the Project Purity and how your father was looking for a way to get everyone on board with this thing again. You don't have any ethical dilemma, no tricky situations where you could showcase your personal beliefs. Alternatively, the Great Hans finds themselves in a somewhat problematic position. Benny lets them to be destroyed by NCR troopers. The local NCR officer tells that the Hans captured several NCR soldiers and hunkered down in the destroyed town. He allows you to proceed if you agree to convince the leader of the bandits to free hostages. You can go and kill all of the Great Hans. You get all you need, or you can make a deal and get additional information about Benny. Even if you manage to strike a deal with the Hans, the NCR officer tells you to destroy the bandits. So now you can double cross the Hans and get revenge for Goodsprings. Or you convince the officer to honor his words and let the bandits go. After that, you get a positive reputation with Hans, and it will be useful when you will roam around seeking allies for the second battle of Hoover Dam.
Don't play tough with me. I was shooting my gun when you were still an itch in your daddy's pants.
Ever a review from mainstream gaming journalist back in the day told me that shooting in Fallout 3 was awesome. The trailers were filled with big explosions and awesome VATS skills. Well, they are wrong. The gunplay in particular felt imprecise and lacked smoothness and responsiveness. It feels like shooting from the bow in Oblivion. The enemies don't respond to your shots. Besides, Bethesda's favorite auto-leveling system makes enemies feel like bullet sponges. You will need to spend an absurd amount of ammo to kill someone in the late game. Additionally, the game has only a handful of weapon options. You will go through the whole game with just 1 or 2 weapons.
I led my flock beneath the sun-baked sands of the wasteland to keep them safe and teach them my ways.
Initially, Bethesda planned to create a big and open map of Washington City. Nonetheless, they didn't have the necessary time and resources. The developers were forced to turn Washington into a series of locations, all connected by a united metro system. You had to crawl through boring and blank locations to move from one place to another. Many of the metro tunnels and stations feel similar, lacking distinct visual or structural differences. You had to go through the same boring-ass tunnel over and over again. The metro stations are filled with boring generic ghoul enemies that you get bored of killing after a second encounter. The most annoying thing is that you get lost all the time. The tunnels look all the same, so it's really easy to get lost. I can't stress enough how often I dropped playing Fallout just because I got tired of the tunnels. The worst is that the developers spend months designing this boring system instead of concentrating their attention on filling the world with interesting content.
Did you ever try to put a broken piece of glass back together? Even if the pieces fit, you can't make it whole again.
While Test for Oblivion had some awesome DLCs, everyone remembers the god-awful horse armor. Fallout 3 had 4 major DLCs. 3 of these occurred outside of the original game locations. Operation Anchorage is just another chance to use awesome Fallout 3 shooting mechanic. The pit throws you at the city that is run by rival gangs that use slaves to produce the steel. You have a chance to make some decisions and learn that slavery is bad. Broken Steel is an attempt to fix the obnoxiously bad video game finale and add some after-game content. The final still sucks, but it is always good to have after-final content. Point Lookout presents you with a new area of swamps that has a Lovecraftian feel to it. Good place just to roam around and to have some fun time. I can't tell that the game has the worst DLCs ever, but they're all boring. You feel like the ideas for this content were created. They tried to fill in the blanks with how Brotherhood of Steel appeared in the Capital Wasteland, but the add-ons still don't feel like the part of the world. Thank you for watching my video all the way to the end. You can buy me a coffee or support me in any other way. I am saving some money to replace my potato laptop with a new PC. Stay cool and love your pets.